Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's live webinar. We're so happy to have you here. Today's conversation is about help. My managers were never trained to lead. I'm Cheyenne Robinson, Marketing Director here at Fig Learning, and I'll be your moderator today. Let's get started with a quick tech check. If you can hear me loud and clear, say hey in the chat and tell us where your name, where you're tuning in from. Awesome. Great to see everybody here. Glad that you can hear me. Amazing that you guys are tuning in from all over the place. I'm here in Arlington, Texas. Amazing. So use the chat. Great to hear you, Nicholas. Shantae from Anaheim, Joyce in Detroit. Fantastic. So we'll be using the chat to share your thoughts throughout, ask questions. I'll be monitoring the chat live. We also have our CEO, Jonathan, joining us in the chat as well for this webinar on LinkedIn. So if you miss anything, and don't worry, we will be sending the replay out after the session. We're so excited to have you here. This is such an important topic. So many organizations promote people into leadership roles without a roadmap and then wonder why results suffer. So today, Matthew will show you how to get it right, from identifying future leaders to giving them the right support. But before we get started, let's kick things off with a quick pulse check and telling us in the chat how you would rate your leadership pipeline and development. So answer by just dropping in the chat your response, 1, 2, 3, or 4. So how would you rate your leadership pipeline in development? Is it world-class? You should be running this webinar. Maybe we should tag you in for the next one. Drop a 1. 2, if it's pretty good, but you've got room for improvement. Drop a 3 in the chat. If it's haphazard, you get by, but it's a little all over the place. 4, if you're very much in the early days, maybe you don't have a actual leadership pipeline development yet, and that's why you're here. Love to see what your responses are. Oh, great. We've got a lot of people that are in different places there. Looks like a lot of folks, it's kind of been all over the place. You get what you need, sort of. And that's exactly why this conversation matters. So for those of you that have just joined us, I'm Cheyenne Robinson, Marketing Director at Fig Learning. And fun fact, I was also a former Fig client. So I've been in your shoes in some capacity when it comes to L&D. Now, on behalf of the team here at Fig Learning, thank you all for joining our conversation and here to learn about developing your leaders. Now, our session today is going to cover the different levels of leadership, a framework for developing future leaders, and practical tips you can apply right away after today's session. And we'll end with the Q&A. And if you stay for the Q&A, you'll also have a chance to win a free leadership program for up to 5 new managers. So you'll want to make sure you stay tuned for that. Now I'm excited to introduce our speaker, Matthew. He's Fig Learning's internal leadership expert and formerly the Chief Learning Officer at one of our largest enterprise clients. He's based in the UK, so you'll get to hear his fun British accent here in a moment. Matthew brings over 20 years of experience leading global learning teams, especially in fast-paced, high-growth tech companies. He's helped hundreds of leaders grow their teams and themselves in the process. Matthew, over to you.
Thanks very much, Cheyenne. And I know that when I do these types of sessions, my accent becomes even more English. So please bear with me. So one thing we got curious about when we were starting to think about this particular subject, what percentage of people can truly lead? Now here there's, I'm afraid, some good news and some bad news. So as the Gallup research suggests, there are just 10% of our employees who are natural leaders. But here's the opportunity. There are also another 20% who have leadership potential. But it's up to us to try to unlock this for the benefit of our organization. So leadership isn't just born, it's built. So, if potential is out there somewhere, are we investing in the right people? Now, here's an issue that I think we've all probably come across in our careers. 80% of managers are promoted because they're technically strong, they're high performers, they're high achievers, not necessarily because they have a major aspiration to lead a team. So, are we promoting skill or leadership aspiration? Now, getting this wrong can have a significant ripple effect across the rest of the organization. And here's the real cost of getting it wrong. Now, there are some really sobering statistics here, but hand on heart, I think we're all part of the problem. 60% of new managers fail within 24 months. And even more of a problem, that means that their teams perform 15% worse than teams led by high performing managers. So therefore, these leadership gaps aren't necessarily personal, they quickly become organizational. So how do we build managers to succeed? Well, it starts by understanding that leadership isn't a one-size-fits-all journey. Here are 5 levels of leadership, which I'm sure you may have seen before. Different stages of leadership require different kinds of development. Hopefully that's obvious. An aspiring manager, an aspiring leader doesn't need the same coaching, for example, as an executive leader. But tailored support by leadership level ensures that people get the right skills at the right time. So I'm going to ask you a question, or I'm going to hand over to Cheyenne actually. Which levels of leadership do you need to develop today? Cheyenne, over to you for another great poll.
Absolutely. So I want to bring it back to you with this quick question. So excluding executives, which leadership level do you most need to develop in your organization? Drop the number in the chat that for the level that you need to develop most in your organization. So 1, those new leaders, 2 for mid-level managers, 3 for first-time managers, or 4 for aspiring managers. So what level of leadership do you most need to develop in your organization, excluding executives? Those new leaders, 1, mid-level managers, 2, those first-time managers, 3, aspiring managers, 4. All right, I see a lot of first-time managers, those new managers, number 3. Stick around to the end. We're giving away, again, a free spot in our new manager leadership program. That's option number 3. You'll get the details during our Q&A in just a bit.
Okay, so interesting kind of each of them, and it's not a wonder because we need to invest heavily. Given what I was talking about potential wise, we need to invest in the right skills at the right time. So how do we put the right structure around this? It starts with a clear, hopefully simple process. DIDS. There we are. DIDS. DIDS. Success comes from when you define what great leadership actually looks like. What are the behaviors? What does your company need your managers and leaders to be good at to help you, your organization, meet the particular goals? Can you name them? Have you had that? Has your company had that conversation? In 2 to 3 years' time, your organization will be very different to the one it is today. And to help you get there, you need leaders and managers. So what is it? You need them to be doing this different from today for tomorrow. We need to identify those who show real potential, and we're going to go through a bit in more detail what that might look like. And we need to develop that potential consistently. Regular support, structured support for those people maybe making the transition for the first time, and how we support our leaders on the journey. So let's start breaking down what's going wrong today before we look at what's going right. So let's first explore the common barriers organizations face. And this first one, I want you to ask yourself, is this you? Or have you got experience of this as well? Too often, leadership is seen as a reward. It's seen as the natural progression. You're a high performing individual contributor. Guess what? You now get to be a leader of people. Do you want to do that? Well, we're not necessarily seeing it as a responsibility. How many career conversations do your managers have with their people? Once a year, when it comes to performance review time, there's a box on a platform, on a form that HR sends out. You've got to have a career conversation. It should be a regular thing. It should be a regular thing when individuals identify new pieces of work, new projects, challenges that they need to lean into. We don't always have it at the start. We need to develop those particular skills. And we have a very few opportunities to actually practice being a leader before we promote people. I'm going to share some ideas where you could do that in just a moment. And we definitely have a lack of clear success metrics for managers. So if we want better leaders, we need to know what great leadership actually looks like. What is it? So great managers, I think, have some consistent traits. Certainly over my career, I've seen these in great managers: curiosity, and in individual contributors as well. So curiosity, so someone who leans into a problem and a challenge. They don't shy away from it. They don't want to go away and hide. They lean into tough conversations. Accountability, they hold themselves accountable and they hold other people accountable as well when things aren't necessarily going the way they should be going. And collaboration, they build trusting relationships. They know who and when to involve other stakeholders. And it's about the team success. It's not about their own success and about their own ego. And resilience. When things are changing, AI is hitting us straight in the face, this new shiny thing. There are changes in economy. They keep going, just one step at a time each day. They seek feedback as well. They go and get it. They lean into it and use it as a development tool for themselves. Whatever they're going to hear, they're going to lean into it and use it as well. So I haven't been talking about technical mastery. It's about people skills and it's about growth mindsets. So once we've identified talent, we need to actively develop it.
Absolutely. And one thing too, just want to share that we've actually developed a tool just for this to help you identify the best managers and those future leaders. And again, stay for again in the Q&A shortly, and you'll get a chance to get a free copy of that.
Yeah, we made it super easy for you. It's just a 10-minute self-assessment survey, and all of this will come to fruition for you. There's a promise for you. So moving on to the second D of DIDS. So talent doesn't blossom without care and support. We must create environments where leadership skills can be practiced and refined. So, for example, 360 reviews, I'm sure we're all very familiar with that technique. We get a good understanding of people's impact. Start small and easy, maybe with an exercise like start, stop, continue on a regular basis, maybe quarterly. Mentorship programs, sharing experiences, having more senior, more experienced leaders share that with individual contributors. Tell them the good stuff, tell them the hard stuff, show them the proof that they can help develop people around them and create high performing teams. Show them warts and all. A feedback culture. Does your company buzz with feedback? If not, how do you know who's doing well or not? Existing leaders should be role models here. I know they're not always, but they should be role models here. Again, use a 360 approach in your performance reviews, completing retros after projects, presentations, client calls, whatever it is, to understand where they are and where they could get to with some development in the future. And every small step helps build future leaders. But development alone isn't enough. Leaders need to feel supported at every step. So, support systems are the lifelines for new leaders. They need clear goals. Believe it or not, that's not a job description. That's a list of tasks or responsibilities. But what are the goals? How are those leaders and managers going to be measured? What's required of them? And that will be very different to what was required of them as an individual contributor. Strong onboarding. I bet you've got a really great onboarding process for new hires in your organization. But what about people transitioning in the organization? What about new leaders, new managers? Do they get promoted on a Friday? Then over the weekend, by osmosis, they get everything that they need and they're just left to lead a team or a function on a Monday morning? That sounds really risky when I put it like that. You wouldn't send out a new product unless it was supported with marketing, would you? I'm not sure you would do. Peer support networks, real opportunities for people to share challenges, those people who might be interested in becoming a people leader in the future. What challenges are they facing at the moment? Mentorship, make it available for people. Make it available. It's a great program to have to give people security, to enable them to ask the really tough questions. Now, leadership is hard, as we all know. No one should have to figure it out alone, but we do leave people to figure it out alone. Should we leave this to the test, to this risk every single day? I'm not sure we would. So when you're ready to scale this support system, you need a program that truly fits your business. So what do we do about launching a leadership program? Well, the best leadership programs aren't generic. They're built to meet real business challenges. So start strong, early support for new managers, even for those people who are transitioning from a manager to becoming a leader, so manager of managers. Not just on the day before they start, and not for a week of meetings, new laptop. What's the 30, 60, 90-day plan for your new managers and leaders? It should include clear goals, finding out about their team, meeting other stakeholders around the organization who directly work with them. Clear success criteria and measurement. This is what we mean by build with intention. Using pulse surveys, setting metrics for the program. And this goes back to asking the company, what does it want to see from its leaders? Use these elements as the baseline. Then you're more able to identify and measure the success or hopefully or not of the leadership program itself. And that then brings connection to business impact, ensuring that the goals of any program link with the defined leadership traits and company goals. If these things aren't linked, it's just another program. And we all know what happens when we try and pitch that to the C-suite. What's the return on the investment for us? Most importantly, the program has got to adapt and iterate with insight as you go along. Now, one of the most powerful moves you can make is by customizing development for your real needs. So just want to reiterate again that the one size fits all approach is definitely dead. So if your challenge is maybe skills driven, you need to upskill the organization. Maybe you need to focus on particular skills. Remember what I said about what does the company need from its leaders? Get them to articulate them, get them to write those down. Maybe there are 4, maybe there are 3. It's not the massive content that you see in some leadership programs, which is one size fits all. Maybe it's team driven. Maybe you've got lots of engineers who, in my experience, get promoted and then still continue to do the job that they were doing, like coding, for example, while they're supposed to be managing. Typically, that happens when no one's told them what the role of a manager is and there's no support in place. Maybe you need to focus on that group of staff. And maybe it's even event driven. So maybe it's an IPO, maybe it's a merger with a new organization, maybe it's just rapid growth, maybe it's a technological change that's coming in here. And we all know what's coming and what's with us at the moment. Are your people ready? Are they skilled? Do they need a particular skill due to an event occurring? These ways you can really start to customize a leadership program to the needs of your business. Now, I'm going to hand back to Cheyenne. Hopefully, there's some Q&A. I know there's been lots of stuff going on, um,
Yes.
lots of comments coming through, and thanks, Jonathan, as being our wingman today to help with some of those. But Cheyenne, is there anything else, any other questions coming through that I can help with?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw several questions we'll get to here in a moment. And thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us, Matthew. So we're going to move into the Q&A. I'll guide the conversation. I'll pull in those questions from the
Great,
chat. To
great.
kick things off, I'd love to know, Matthew, and I'm sure those attending would like to know, how do you actually measure if a leadership program
Uh,
is actually working?
I thought this would be the first question. It always is. Anyone else who works in L&D, this is kind of like the holy grail, isn't it? This is the gold. Uh, if anybody's got the complete answer, please do let me know, and I'll go in partnership with them. But I think it comes down to what I've been talking about during the session today. We need to understand why does the program exist? What does often we default to things like surveys or attendance rates, which are useful, but are actually quite superficial. So what? So what if 95% of managers have gone through a program? Who cares? So I think it comes down to three levels. On an individual level, obviously we can use 360s, pulse surveys, but we can only do that if the metrics have been set at the beginning of the program. And this is what I was meaning around what do you want from your leaders and managers in the first place. So you can't measure anything if you haven't set a baseline. It always used to amuse me when one of my CEOs said, everybody needs to be 20% more productive. And we used to go, yes, 20% more than what? Go, well, more productive, be productive, but we don't know what the first number is. So I was never great at maths, but I think you need a baseline to work that out. So on an individual level, you can use all kind of pulse surveys. You can use Culture Amp. You can do them yourself. You could probably put that into ChatGPT and come up with a great way of assessing that within your individuals. On a team level, again, it's about identifying what you want to be different about teams, whether you want to increase their team health metrics. And again, we can do pulse surveys and all that kind of thing as well. Retention rates, um, um, staff turnover rates, those types of things. And obviously, at an organizational level, at a business level, the third point, are the business outcomes tied to a leadership improving? Goes right back to the fundamentals of, as your learning and development strategy linked to your business strategy? Because if they aren't, then you can't measure anything. If they are, then you can try to measure how the skills that your company identified as being the most important are helping your managers get better and your teams get better. Sorry, that was a really long-winded answer to that question.
Thanks
But
for
it's something that,
answering.
no, it's just something that I've seen time and time again. This this kind of people producing great dashboards with participation numbers, and it's like, well, so what?
Right. Absolutely. And real quick, could you share a success story of a company that's implemented the new manager program and what changed for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had working with an American auto trans. It was an auto transport company, actually, and the problem that they identified was that their customer reviews ratings were falling, and in a much more competitive field and sector now, US customers had lots of competitors to go to, so they wanted to sustain that customer review, even more kind of increase it. So we did a little bit of investigation as to what was happening, why these particular agents weren't delivering a 5-star service. And what it came down to was a lack of induction, lack of feedback, a lack of coaching. It was like, here's a microphone, literally, here's a screen, go for it. And so what we did, we ran the program for the team leads, focusing, as I was saying, about customizing it, focusing on coaching, feedback, active listening, and making decisions. And what they found was a real significant uplift in the performance of those individual agents who weren't at the 5-star level before. They were like 4.3, 4.4, which wasn't bad, but they wanted it to be 5. And we eventually got them to 4.8, 4.9, just by following a structured, customized leadership program.
That's incredible. I can't wait to see who's going to win the giveaway next. Also, keep asking your questions. If we aren't able to answer them live, we'll follow up with you afterwards. While we wrap up the Q&A, we're going to put up the giveaway details so you can go ahead and enter to win for our new manager leadership program. And while Matthew answers the last couple of questions, go ahead and drop your biggest leadership challenge in the chat. Now, I saw Jonathan actually was able to answer some of these questions in StreamYard, but for those on LinkedIn, I think Becky's question is really great here for us to start with. So, what are some spaces we can look for emerging leaders to hold others accountable before they manage a team?
You cut out just at the beginning there, Shane. Can you just repeat that again?
Oh, yeah. So, what are some spaces where we can look for emerging leaders to hold others accountable before they manage a team?
I think if they're one of the things I mentioned earlier was around projects. So project management, being part of an organizational wide project, I think is one that they could do that. The second thing is, how much feedback do they give other people? Do they lean into feedback for not just, obviously it wouldn't be because they're not managers, so they wouldn't be giving feedback to people that they manage, but do they lean into feedback with their peers? Do they lean into feedback with maybe their boss? That is somebody who's holding other people accountable. Also, do they bring their own development to one-to-one conversations? Do they ask for regular feedback themselves? All of these types of indications show you that someone is really wanting to move into that leadership role. So I hope that helps.
Absolutely. I hope so. Let us know in the chat, Becky. This last question we'll take, but I don't know if you'll be able to answer in 20 seconds,
I'll give it a go.
Matthew. But yeah, we'll try. So they're wondering if there's any frameworks that they could use for leadership development for first-time managers. Anything you suggest, or maybe sharing a little bit about what our framework looks like for a new manager program.
Yeah, great. So we have our new manager framework is based on, I think, sort of fundamental skills, which aren't necessarily just for business, but for life. So we focus on things such as active listening, how to make meetings better, how to get to a better decision. We look at feedback. Are people delivering feedback in a timely fashion? Are people leaning in and supporting those people around them? Are they wanting to get feedback themselves? So it's important that those are the types of skills that are in that framework. We also start introducing them to Lencioni's five dysfunctions of a team. How to build a great team: trust, conflict, commitment, accountability, and attention to results. We introduce it to them as well because that's a great framework. And even if it's not for new managers, but for existing managers, it's a great framework to work from.
Absolutely. Thanks for answering that for us, Matthew. And thank you all for attending. I'm so glad that you all could join us. I'll be drawing for the winner of our new manager leadership program here shortly. If you'd like to go ahead and learn more about us, you can visit figlearning.com/leadership. The replay should be available here soon or immediately on the link Fig Learning LinkedIn page. And we have a special thank you gift going out to all the registrants in your inbox. So keep an eye out for that email. We'll also be notifying our giveaway winner. And be sure to mark your calendar because we'll be back here live again May 14th for a session on building employee development when you're a team of one or a team of few. So hope to see you all there. And yes, it is possible to develop your people as a small team. Charity Salazar, HR Director at the Interest Group, is going to show you how. Until next time, thank you all again for joining, and I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Take care. Bye bye.